I'm on a mission like a couple spies, and that, guys, is the reason why I catechize the good.
Welcome to the Reformed Standard. I'm Tony. Let's get started. We are continuing our brief excursus here on the Scots Confession, and we're going to read chapter 4, which is titled, Of the Revelation of the Promise. For this we constantly believe, that God, after the fearful and horrible defection of man from his obedience, did seek Adam again, call upon him, rebuke his sin, convict him of the same, and in the end made him the most joyful promise, to wit, that the seed of the woman should break down the serpent's head, that is, he should destroy the works of the devil, which promise, as it was repeated and made more clear from time to time, so was it embraced with joy, and most constantly received of all the faithful, from Adam to Noah, from Noah to Abraham, from Abraham to David, and so forth to the incarnation of Christ Jesus. All, we mean the faithful fathers, under the law, did see the joyful days of Christ Jesus, and did rejoice. So there's sort of a breath of relief, right? So we've been going through in the Westminster Large Catechism the consequences and the results of the fall and of sin. The Scots Confession, chapter 3, is about original sin and the fall into sin. And now we finally turned the corner in the economy of redemption to where the promise is held forth and redemption actually begins to occur. So what the Scots Confession here contributes that I don't want to say is unique, but is certainly distinctive, is that this starts out essentially confirming that the promise given to Adam was actually the first proclamation of the gospel. So, Reformed theology has always held that man in their state of sin and misery cannot seek God, but must first be sought out by God, and God must take the initiative in salvation and is sovereign over it. And so here it begins by calling out that God, even after this fearful and horrible defection of man, sought out Adam and again called upon him. And that calling upon him involves rebuking his sin, convicting him of his sin, and ultimately making a joyful promise to him. And that joyful promise is that in the fullness of time, that God himself would come and would undo the evil that the devil had brought into the world and the sin that the first humans had participated in, which then, as we've learned, kind of trickles down or kind of gets passed on into all of their posterity by natural generation. And so here it also begins to sort of speak against what's called dispensationalism, even though that's a little bit anachronistic. But basically what it's saying here is that this promise, which was made to Adam, and this promise actually comes in the pericope or the context of the curse that is issued to the serpent. This promise is repeated and made more clear from time to time, but it is a single promise. And so even though we have these administrations of various covenants, right? We have the Abrahamic covenant, we have the Noahic covenant, we have, in some senses, there's a covenant which is even given to Ishmael, which is a sort of an administration of the covenant of grace. Even though Ishmael didn't participate in it, there's still a promise to Abraham's offspring that all those who trust in God, all those who trust in the coming Messiah would certainly be saved. And so we see these various covenants which are administered in time, but all testify to the single promise and covenant which was given to Adam after the fall. And so from Adam to Noah, from Noah to Abraham, Abraham to David, and so forth to the incarnation of Christ Jesus. We shouldn't read the fact that this is saying from Adam to Noah, Noah to Abraham, Abraham to David, to be exclusive of other covenant promises that are made throughout the history of the Old Testament, particularly in the patriarchs. So we see this happen. We see this proceed, and this is the key. Is that those who were faithful fathers under the law, right? So Moses, Noah, we can talk about Abraham as being under a law, under the covenant of works. All of these faithful fathers, the ones who are saved, they look forward proleptically to the joyful days of Jesus Christ, and they rejoice. In a certain sense, they're looking at Jesus Christ in anticipation, while we're looking at Jesus Christ in reflection. But we're still all looking at Jesus Christ. We're still all trusting in Jesus Christ, and we're rejoicing. And because of our trust and obedience, because of our trust in Jesus Christ and the obedience that comes after it, not as a ground for our salvation, of course, but because of our trust in Jesus Christ, we rejoice in him, and we are saved by that promise, by faith in the promise. And this is what's key, is that the Old Testament fathers were saved by the same faith in the same Jesus Christ, who made the same promise to all of his people.
Do you know, if you want, you could know this? The catechism, hey, the catechism, hey. Do you know what the chief and the man is? And how the Father, Son, and Spirit do manage? Do you know, if you want, you could know?
West Side.